What was the most outrageous request you ever received, Wally? Remember Chloe from Fight Club? The woman asking for one last before she dies. A terminally ill colleague of mine asked me. Reluctant at first, I finally accepted. We took our time and had a good time together. This was a dying wish you fulfilled, and you sacrificed a part of yourself, and I admire that. Especially since you had a nice time. I will probably think about this a million times. Thank you for sharing. My FWB wants to wear a collar in public and have me lead her around on a leash. I'm white, she's black, and that ain't happening. Dude, there are safe places for all sort of bizdom, including race play. Get on FetLife, or if she is the one wanting to be more public with it, have her. Try ordering her too. She seems like she'd be down for it. Hook up, talk to some established couples. Do a meetup somewhere. Some of those people will help out just being the public that she gets seen by. There are hotels that get rented out by groups, where doors are just left open so other people can watch. Stuff like that. Lots of meetups, etc. I had this guy I met randomly ask if he could see my. When I told him no, he pulled $100 out of his wallet and was like, please, I just want to see it. I won't touch it or anything. I was like 20 and weirded out by the dude, so got away ASAP. Now that I'm older, I probably would just flash my and take the money. Who cares? In college, I had a coworker offer me money just to see my boobs. I was 19 and innocent then, so I said no, rather rudely. Today, I'd snatch that money because, as you said, who cares? Plus, I want to buy a slice of that black tie mousse cake at Olive Garden tonight, and if my boobs can buy me cake, I'd be stupid not to in this economy. Someone offered me $100 an hour to pee on someone at his dungeon. An ex-girlfriend told me a story about an ex-lover of hers. To preface the story, she was born with spina bifida, and because of that she was also born without a bladder, and so she has an ostomy bag that collects her urine. She met a guy on a BBS, this was pre-internet, and they decide to hook up. He confesses that he really want her to pee on him. She declines. He continues to beg. Finally, she agrees, tells him to get naked and in the tub. She rolls in, she was also mostly wheelchair-bound, reaches under her shirt, unhooks the bag from the ostomy site, hands it to him and says, here you are, go nuts, and wheels herself out. A dude asked me to peg him. Not really an outrageous request, I could be up for that. Thing was, we had just met, chatting at a grocery store about the weather or whatever. After I declined, he lamented never being able to find a woman who was interested. All I could think was if he basically opens every conversation with a woman with "you wanna peg me?" I'd be amazed if he finds someone who says yes. I once had a guy open a conversation on a dating app by asking if I would be up for his pretty intense kinks. I asked what kind of kinks he meant, and he listed off a handful of things that I didn't think of as particularly intense, fairly common things I think. Then he went on to talk about pegging. Now, this isn't something I'm particularly interested in personally, but I've always said I'm happy to give things a go. Pretty quickly after that, he asked if I wanted to join him and his friend in a threesome where I would peg him. My dude, maybe let's go for a coffee first? Weirdly, this happened to me too. Having a nice chat by text, then he says, out of literal nowhere, I hope you're happy enough to use a strap-on. I need Ed in the ass. Like, dude, what? I was talking about my favorite cafe. He then told mutual friends that I kink-shamed him and made fun of him. Weirdly touchy for someone who felt it appropriate to describe in detail how he likes getting pegged. 6 messages into the conversation that had no UL content at all. I used to know a guy who slept with a lot of women. I was always shocked because he was average looking at best and not great personality. So I asked him how he always had a new lady on the go. He said he talks to tons of women casually. Out of those he chats with, he asks them out. Few say yes. Then he ends up sleeping with 1-2 out of those he actually goes on a date with. Point is, you ask 100, 200, 300. However many people to peg you, eventually someone is gonna say yes. There are way too many guys who just have a kink and that is all they can think about. My friend met this fellow and on their first encounter he had to wear see-through leggings with the wang hole cut out. Dude, you can't even just have normal and then maybe ease into the pantyhose thing after a couple weeks. Like, you seriously can't think of anything else? So many guys are so incredibly clueless. It is a wonder that the human race got this far. My ex didn't want me to masturbate because she considered it cheating. BW, she cheated. Once we were doing hand stuff on each other. We were young horny teens. Don't ask, she didn't finish me. I thought she wanted me to come on her. She was pretty into that and seemed like she enjoyed it. And days later, she was mad at me because touching my own was pretty much cheating. And she cheated. Wasted 6 years of my life. I had a boyfriend who insisted on the same thing. I had to throw away the vibrator and everything. The worst part was that he wouldn't let me show him how to help me orgasm, and he wasn't once able to get me to orgasm. If I tried to show him how my body liked it, he completely lost his erection, which was nothing crazy, just me trying to show him the clitoris. So, I had 3 years of terrible until I finally was confident enough in myself to leave. For the record, every single partner I've had after that boyfriend has been wonderful at accepting any data I have to share on how to bring my body pleasure. I have had many wonderful orgasms, so please do not offer to help me with this. My ex was a Nazi, was so sad. Of course, I was still watching it anyway because we weren't having a crazy amount of so what are you going to do? Made me feel like a huge slime ball because I was hiding it from her, but now I see she was really just bad. Ended the relationship when she went to a party, came home with her drunk friends while I was sleeping. I told them not to hang out here. The friends lived across the street. She got pissed and disappeared till AM the next morning. I don't think I need to spell out the rest. Got hit on by a private shuttle driver in Vegas. Things were getting very spicy in our discussion when she said she wanted to watch me blow her boyfriend. I was considering whether or not I was getting rolled or if I wanted to do it when she added, "with you in a diaper," and that's where the line was. I'm just amazed there are people who are into diaper fetishes from the other side of things. I've had multiple people approach me on FetLife asking if I will make them themselves in a diaper or have with them in a diaper. And I'm always thinking, who the hell would do this? I dated a guy who had a trash bag fetish. Somewhere he got a humongous bag that we both fit into and we ate inside it. The feeling of the bag on your skin was actually quite pleasant. A guy tried bringing a camera roll into our photo lab one time and it was filled with the weirdest. I couldn't understand why they were both coming out of a trash bag naked. Either way, we couldn't actually print them out because of store policy, so the guy only got less than half the roll developed. He never asked where his pictures were though. A girl once asked me to punch her in the face in the middle of it. I have no idea who Trevor Bowers is, but after a few dozen comments about him, I'm too afraid to ask. I was hanging out with this girl I worked with who I had no idea she had a thing for me. I had had a rough couple of days after someone had wrecked my car. I had a big bandage on my arm from the airbag cutting it when it went off. So she said we'd go out after work and give me a ride home. She had a few drinks, but proceeded to keep buying me shots, saying since I wasn't driving, took me home and asked to come in to use the restroom. When she came out, she totally ravaged me, bit my lip till it bled, somehow ripped my bandage off my arm which started bleeding. Then she closed fist punch, slapped me in the face, to the point it made me a little dizzy. I stopped thinking I did something wrong when she just looks down at me. She was on top of course, and says hit me back. I didn't know how to proceed, so I very lightly tapped her the cheek. She just looked at me and said, "You're funny." And we just proceeded to keep going, getting my sheets covered with spots of my own blood. It was amazing and still think about it till this day. We ended up dating for a few months. I was in a fling with a girl for 2 years, and the second time we hit she was on top and outright grabbed me by the shoulders and yelled, "Hit me." So I tried to be light with it since that was all new to me. This smacked me in the face. She never stopped thrusting, grabbed me by the throat and yelled, "If you don't hit me as hard as you can, I'm going to end you," and keep going. Ladies, if you ever want to teach a man how to be rough in the bed, this is how you do it, because my God, that was scary. But hey, the entire year of daily like that has kept everyone else I've been with from being disappointed, so it was well worth it. My blind date. We talked for hours over the phone and then made plans to meet each other. She gave me her home address and gave me instructions what to do upon arrival. After ringing the doorbell, she would unlock the door. I was to wait 1 minute. She wanted me to then come inside her home and close and lock the front door, then proceed to her bedroom. Then I was to remove all my clothes, get into her bed and turn off the light. She would be waiting in the closet but watching through the blinds of the closet door when she would join me in bed. After hearing all of this, I told her maybe it would better to meet at a restaurant or coffee shop first. She told me no, that she wanted me at her place tonight, so I declined her offer. If she is reading this, please don't take it personally. Had a buddy from the army tell me about this lady that he would go visit that was a very similar setup. He would go over and let himself in, lock the door behind, get undressed, go upstairs and have with her, lights on, no protection, then go back downstairs to get dressed and leave. She was apparently good looking and just wanted him to have his fun. So it definitely worked for him, but he says that one of the many times he went over, he started to leave but forgot to lock the door behind him. As he opened the door again to lock it, he heard a man's voice say, "He really ed you good that time, baby." Turns out she was married and the husband had been watching from the closet every time he had been there, and even knowing this, he kept going over. I got asked to force ice cubes up her hole and so she could force them back out again. Bad idea. Everywhere. I've done that for myself, not vaginally though, because that would hurt me. Overrated IMO. It's a very boring feeling to me. The only thing that kept me coming back was how interesting and erotic the concept was, but after that faded I stopped doing it. It didn't really feel good. Anal play is really tricky if you're not properly cleared out. PSA: if you want to try ice cube play, make sure you don't do it too often or leave it there for too long. It can damage nerves. She wanted to shave me from the neck down, dress me like a woman, take me out dancing with her and her friend, then they would take turns on me and each other with strap-ins. This was from a church kindergarten teacher who had previously stated reverse cowgirl was too kinky for her. Edit for my poor inbox. Yes, we did it. Yes, it was the most erotic thing I have ever done. Yes, I was sore as hell the next morning. Yes, it became a monthly-ish thing to cross-dress and go out. Getting pegged by one or both was weekly. Yes, we eventually brought home another guy from the club, and yes, I crossed that line too. For 3 years that was unbelievable, but everything else started dying. We were just headed in 2 different directions in life, and eventually we mutually decided to end it. That was 25 years ago. We text almost daily. Her live life with her husband is pretty generic. Sony's mine with my wife. I guess we both got it out of our systems. My ex's brother had a thing for me, and I would tell my ex everything he would say to me, and then one night after all of us went rollerblading, he asked me, "Could you send a foot pic? Brew, I'm dating your brother." My ex was furious, and the brother was like, "Ugh, why she gotta tell you everything?" He would constantly flirt and try and get me to cheat, but you know what the funny part? The minute he got a girlfriend, he forbade my ex to ever meet her because he claims you'll try and do stuff with her. So in other words, it's okay for me to try and do stuff with your girlfriend, but you can't do it with mine. An ex wanted to other guys while she was 4 hours away at college but didn't want me to touch another woman. Reminds me of a post from a while ago where a guy's girlfriend wanted the same, except she would allow him to see other women too. He didn't want to and broke things off. 3 years later, she turns up at his house acting like they're still together, and as if he'd agreed to the open relationship, he had to explicitly tell her to bugger off and make her leave. Turns out she'd even told her family they were still together and looking to get engaged. They hadn't talked for 3 years. Some people are delusional. I dated a guy that was in that situation. His girlfriend moved to another country, supposedly for a few months, but then she kept extending her stay to 6 months, then a year, then saying she didn't know if she was coming back. She told him she wanted to be in an open relationship because it wasn't fair to either of them. He really loved and respected her. I could tell that when I met him. So, per her request to be open, when he met me, her told her that he'd met someone he liked. His girlfriend absolutely flipped her lid. She went nuts on him and on me, sending me messages saying I looked ugly and looked like a child. I was actually older than him. I remember her opening line to me was, "Stop being my boyfriend." Meanwhile, she had immediately gotten into other relationships overseas. The poor guy, we were on and off, because she'd be okay with him dating other people and then change her mind. He was at her beck and call. The final straw was when she was supposed to fly him out to see her, and instead she paid to fly out an ex that she claimed abused her. I remember he cried, but still believed she must have her reasons. I matched with someone He asked me if I have slim feet, which I do. I thought he's into feet or something. Turns out he wants me to put my whole feet into his. I also have someone who have a cuckold and degrading kink, and wants me to ask him to eat his own cum. I had a guy on Grindr that wanted me to degrade him, cuckold him, etc. I wasn't too interested until he said he would be a pay piggy as well, essentially a financial sub. The problem was he was too damn poor to actually pay me anything, yet he was needy as when it came to texting. He'd send me like 11 identical messages in a row if I didn't respond, and over the course of about 3 weeks paid me a total of £31. He still messages me now and gets a boilerplate to text response of, "If you want me to talk, send me money. You have my details. Let me know if you have sent anything and I shall respond." He even had me write up some bull contract and invoice to make it official. I had a girl that wanted me to show her naked pics to my friends, not post them online. My girlfriend at the time wanted to show my nudes to people. I told her, sure, as long as you don't show it to my friends. As long as she asks if they want to see it, I guess it's hot they want to see it. She genuinely wanted to share because she was obsessed with my body. She then showed them to one of my close friends, but my close friend must have been into it because she frequently tells me how good I look. I would also do wild stuff like film myself masturbating for this girl and say her name when I was coming. My Uber passenger wanted to give me $5001000 for me to let him my. I declined. All you whores need to keep yourselves safe out there. Many taxi drivers I know are terrified by s.e.xually requests, and many have cameras in their cars to protect them in case a client wants to accuse them of harassment, abuse, rape. They all have stories to tell. One of my friend was accused of attempted rape. He had done a long job, and when he had reached the girl's neighborhood, she wouldn't give an address. She jumped out of the car and started running. My friend immediately called the police, which was the right move because the girl had ran home and told her dad the driver had tried to rape her. He had, of course, also called the police. They got there, talked to both parties, checked the car camera, and immediately cleared my friend. All I know is that the dad was absolutely furious against his little of a daughter. Rightfully, he paid the fare and apologized profusely. Halfway through our second date, she asked, "When we have, can I lick your ass?" When we did have for the first time, she asked me to piss on her. I don't know if we saw the same woman, but I dated a woman who was into that years ago. Though I took her for dinner the first time, and then we just had on a regular basis afterwards. But she was very specifically into drinking pee. Like, please let me try and swallow it all. I don't want to miss a single drop, sir. Into it. She also loved to eat, but she preferred it right after I finished work or if I hadn't showered that day. Would get upset if I showered right before I came to see her. She was a wonderful girl, kind, caring, feminine, submissive, pretty, quiet, peaceful. She will definitely make someone who's as into it as she is very happy one day. I couldn't feel comfortable kissing her given her preferences, especially because she was pretty fixated on these things and would beg for them. When we would spend time together, she constantly was trying to get me to drink more fluids so that I could quench her thirst. When in public, she would constantly hint at it, saying things like, "Looking at you is making me thirsty," or "Isn't he a cool glass of water on a summer's day?" to her friends when she was showing me off. I wanted to give her what she wanted, but how do you kiss a woman when her face smells like your butthole and her breath smells like pee? Literally any chance she can get. When I was a stripper, I got offered $100 to kick a guy in the nuts. Naturally, I took the offer and kicked him. After he regained his strength, he bolted out the door past the bouncers. A few months after that, I start a new class in college, and guess who's my professor? Nut kick guy. My bartender at my local watering hole has a similar story from her days in the industry, only the guy wanted her to do it repeatedly and paid a lot of money to make sure she did it full strength. This is a girl with thighs that could crush your skull. She said he was very satisfied with the services after she walloped him in the nuts a few dozen times or so. My male cousin's girlfriend asked me to have a threesome with them, and it turned out that it was my cousin's idea in the first place. I literally had almost the exact same situation. My cousin's ex-girlfriend, who is now legally my aunt, but that's a story for a different day, wanted to do a foursome partner swap with me and my ex-boyfriend. And it turned out she was mildly interested in my ex, and my cousin suggested the idea to her and she agreed. Funny thing was, my ex had a thing for my cousin and was totally down. I, on the other hand, was most definitely not attracted to my cousin's ex, nor did I want to my cousin. I have a few other weirdest stories about that cousin and his ex that are wild. Not so much a request, but a girl I was hooking up with, I was 22 at the time, started calling me daddy. It had never been a problem for me, but was never something I found particularly why or a turn on in any way. What was a problem was when, without warning, she started age play and started pretending she was a minor, and I have never lost a boner so fast in my life. I hopped off and told her I really had to pee, went into the bathroom and texted my buddy SOS, call me in 2 minutes, pretending to be my dad and be pissed at me. Yeah, to this day she is the only person I've ever ghosted. Sometimes I feel bad about it, but not usually. It also now creeps me out and is a huge turn-off if someone calls me daddy. My wife knows this story and finds it hilarious, so she calls me daddy randomly just to get a laugh. A girlfriend asking me to throw her sister a mercy to get back at her boyfriend who cheated on her. Through the power of sheer luck, I actually slept with twins separately about 2 weeks apart. Everything was obviously the same physically, which was kinda weird at first, but their personalities were opposite, which translated to the bedroom as well. The first one was rather reserved and just kinda boring, and the other, more outgoing sister, was a far rake. They both found out very quickly. We all still keep in touch as friends now. She wanted me to basically force her. Started putting my hands down her pants and she stops me. So I stop because I think she's not ready for that, and she gets frustrated and asked why I stopped. Because I'm not into rape. Not gonna lie though, with her was fun once I got to know her better. I am super 100% not into that stuff. I have a hard time even smacking a butt cause I don't want to hurt someone. I dated a girl with a big rape and humiliation fetish. She wanted me to be super mean and say like, actually hurtful to her. She gave me a safe word and wanted me to rape her for real sometime without her knowing, and I was not about it. A husband wanted me to have with this wife. That's not the outrageous part. I'm a swinger, so it's pretty common. What was outrageous was that he expected me to travel 3 hours to his town, pay all expenses for the hotel, wait for their arrival, and answer the door naked like some kinda toy to present to his wife. I had a husband one time try and set me up as a surprise for his wife. I'm not a great surprise. I'm okay looks-wise, but I mostly win on charm and personality. It would have been fine if he told me I was a surprise because I could have declined. I know I'm not a great surprise. Don't know what his dumbass was thinking. After some awkward interactions and 1 beer, I left the bar when it was clear she was not interested.